What's up, everybody? Aspire with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on Space Engineers. Well, and also this is the first Space Engineers Let's Play episode for 2021, so yay. So when we left off in the last episode, it was all the way in last year when we left off on this build. I couldn't resist, sorry. So we had done a few things, mainly the main rough hull shape is kind of done on the front and or the top and the bottom here. I haven't finished the back area, and there was this kind of angled area for the hangar. Now, this garnered a lot of comments on the last video, so I'm going to talk about this at length fairly in depth is what I meant to say, not recently. And I also added this thing back here, which I briefly touched on in my last update video, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well. So we're going to kind of go over some of the changes as well as the hidden solar panel array, which I also think I might have a couple of changes to, I think. I don't know if I'm going to get to that today or not, but we're mainly going to be pointing out these two main things. Now let me tackle this one up here first, because the hangar I'm going to probably talk a little bit more at length about my thought process. This, for those of you that don't recognize it, is kind of a adaptation, I should say. It's kind of like a repurposed from my last Let's build that I never actually finished, which was kind of the Star Destroyer-esque kind of ship that then had this kind of archway ring on the back of it where it was supposed to be kind of the captain's quarters and all that kind of crap. Admittedly, on that one it was a little bit bigger. This one's a smaller profile or footprint, but the shape I was actually pretty happy with. Now the only thing is, I don't know how I like it in terms of the blending into this build. It was an idea that I had of like, hey, I didn't finish that other one, maybe I can take the most notable part of it and add it to this one. But I don't know how I feel about it. It's like, it could look cool if done right, but some of this would have to change. One of the things that I'm not sure about particularly is this area, because this is kind of the edge of the arch, but it's not really the edge here. It's kind of like now it drops into a curve, or an angle, rather. So I played around a little bit with, like, the corner angle block things to see if I could make it work. Like this kind of thing. I can never remember what buttons are what. So like this kind of shape going on. And I don't really know how I feel about it, because essentially I think it needs to be a block over to pull this off, because now this brings that angle out, in that you've got to, unless I just dug directly into the angle and just didn't care. But I don't really know how I feel about that, and if I just leave it like that, I don't really know how I feel about that. So it sounds silly to say, but I feel like this connection part is probably the one thing that's keeping me from rubber stamping this whole idea. Now, ignoring this, I feel like the back was going to originally take this kind of shape, which I had been working on here, and it was kind of just going to curve into a relative point, and I was probably going to replicate one of the thruster angle things on the back here. That was kind of the idea. With the ring thing on here, I don't know. It may still be the same shape, and then right here where it connects, it just kind of wedges into the curve. I'm not really sure. Let me know what you guys think about that, because I'm just going to leave that there for now. And let me know what you guys think in terms of whether or not you think that adds to it, or if it's just kind of tacked on and doesn't really work. Admittedly, it is tacked on. It's something I thought of after the fact. It wasn't part of the original design, and here we are. So there is that. Now, on to the hangar. Also, before I get to the hangar, actually, I wanted to point out, in case you guys haven't watched my inspiration series, although most of you who watched this series watch my inspiration series, but I digress. I'm not probably going to be doing another episode like I usually did where Subnautica would have been, and we had talked about doing Empyrean and Minecraft or whatever. I'm probably going to be doing another update video, so I don't have to bog these down with talking about channel updates and all that stuff, so keep an eye out for that. But relevant to this video is image quality and audio quality. I have changed up my editing software, and thus my settings are all kind of in flux at the moment in terms of audio and video qualities and bit rates and all that kind of crap. On a positive note, I'm using DaVinci Resolve now, which my older version of Premiere that I had did not support split audio tracks. This one does. So I can now separate my audio from the game audio. So if I need to make specific tweaks, I can, and I don't have to mess with the game, etc. and so on. So I'm being a little more picky about my audio settings and video quality and all that, so just keep it in mind, and if something looks weird, let me know. Alright, so back to this. Now, originally, I had a horizontal hangar here that came out because that was what was in the original Galvatron's Revenge build that inspired this ship. It had a little cutout slot, like a mailbox slot down here that was below the main fuselage, so I was trying to kind of do that same thing. Now, for those of you that remember the last episode, you saw me try and do this curve thing, which kind of worked, but really didn't. So I have two options. I have the option to pull this curve further forward, or angle, further forward to like here, because we tested it out and I clearly have enough room for fighters and stuff still in here, or we can do the fuselage the way it looks on the top and just kind of mirror it, and then do a vertical, or rather a ventral hangar here, much in the same vein of like a Star Destroyer, which I'm gonna be honest, that's what I'm leaning towards. A couple of you in the comments are leaning towards that way. I am myself as well, but yeah, you know what, I pitched that as a question, but that's kind of more of just a this is what we're doing, because I think in the grand scheme of things, it does move away from the original inspiration, but like I said before, it's an inspired build, not a one-to-one build. So I think that would make for an okay adjustment to have a vertical, probably in this area. I think the profile here is still fine, like this block here-ish, or maybe this one. So maybe I would do a cutout right there. I'm not sure. I think what I'm going to actually do is design, or rebuild rather, this part up here first, and then cut away what I need to make the hangar. I think that will work better than trying to cut away and build around it. So we'll probably do a jump cut and do that. The other thing I want to point out is this solar panel array. So this was kind of a test I was doing to figure out block collisions and pistons and so on and whatnot, and I've got a hinge here with a rigged up prototype of the mechanics I would need for a folding or unfolding rotating solar array. However, in the month I took off, I've been thinking about this, and I don't like it for two reasons, and I'm going to show you both of them really quick here. So first of all, I do like that this is kind of really concealed. Sorry, I bumped my mouse there and it went all epileptic. The other thing is this is the only seam that you see in terms of the connected part, so I do like that. I like how concealed this is. It works really well. So I'm really happy with the hangar portion here. Piston, solar door, yeah. So right like that. And for the most part, I don't have too much clang or anything. I polished up some of the settings a little bit to where it seems to slide back and forth pretty evenly. So I do like that component. Now, the only thing I don't like is the limitation of how small this, like, slot is, kind of thing. I'm not a big fan of that exactly. So there is that element, because as you can see, it takes a lot to get just a couple of solar panels to come out, which for a ship like this, I don't know that it would really do anything. The other thing is how close the solar panels are. I don't even know if they scrape or not, but as you can see, they cut like right through and we are getting a few sparks here and there. I don't think it's actually causing damage, but it is sparking. Now, one thing I don't like about this, as you can see with this setup right here, we're running 12? Took me a minute, but yeah, we've got 6 and 6, so there's 12 solar panels there. Now, the thing I don't like about this is because of where I've got it located for collision clearing and all that, I could probably do it closer, because if it's on this block, I could do it even as close as, like, this block or whatever. But I ended up having to put quite a few conveyors and stuff to get the spacing to where it was tall enough to where these would clear and it wouldn't cause any damage or anything. And this as well. Now, like I said, I could bring this hinge up to like here, but I don't think that would really fix anything because it would still be only a couple blocks different. And when it comes to solar panels, they're pretty long. So the problem for me is the amount of space that I'm using up for the limited amount of solar panels. I know 12 isn't bad, but... and you could do one on each. I'm kind of planning on mirroring it. Whatever I do on this side, I'm going to do on this side. But the thought occurred to me recently that I've been playing Space Engineers a little bit outside of my expertise. And what I mean by that is I'm playing it like Space Engineers. Well, recently, for those of you that may not know, Baseplay KG, Adrian Wannafly, and myself have started back into Minecraft again. Whether I do videos on it or not is kind of irrelevant, but it's gotten me back into the Minecraft mentality. And one of the things I've never really done a lot with Space Engineers is things like moving blocks with pistons and all that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously you do, but it's just back and forth, right? Like, a good example of what I'm talking about is if you've done any kind of block swap in Minecraft, where there's one block, you know, you've got your block here, and then, like, you click a button and it moves the blocks and now you have a different block in the same space. Something like that. I haven't done a lot of that, and I saw a video recently on Space Engineers where somebody did basically that. It was a little bit different, but they basically used detaching piston heads, where they moved a piston and then detached the head, and there was another piston head on the other side. I know this is very... you know what? I'm just going to do it real quick. Okay, so essentially something like this, give or take. What did I just do? I just hit a button. I don't know what I did. Oh, I know what it is. I had the time-lapse thing on here because I was trying to see if I could use that to film a time-lapse, and it did not do what I want. Hold on. Right, let's try this again. Okay, so, essentially, if you hadn't already figured out how this works, this was an idea that I hadn't really thought of before. But you send the part in question with... I'm using hinges here, you could use rotors and other things. Okay, now, obviously it'd be a lot more elegant than this, but... let's see, hinge, I don't know which one it would be. That one doesn't have an attached, that one does. So we'll attach that, and then that's locked. And now you come over here, and, I don't know which one is which. I can't tell the color. I'm gonna go with this one. Hope it's right. Detach. I think that worked. Yes, it did. Now you would have all this, like, distanced out with timer blocks and whatnot. You know, sequences and blah blah blah. But you can see that they basically traded the block. So that's the basic idea of what I was talking about, where I never do that kind of stuff in here in Space Engineers, but yet that's something you do a lot in Minecraft with redstone. But at first I was like, well, you can't do that. And then I was like, well, actually I've seen people do it. So what does that all lead me to? I know that was a little bit of a... just bear with me, I'm getting to the point. So the idea here is kind of like I did here with this concealed area. I'm thinking something like maybe this area here, like this long section here, and then I could do it like further back to maybe somewhere around in here, and then split it down the middle, I'm thinking. Or, you know, like there be one block extra on one side, whatever it takes. But then under this armor panel, I'm just going to poke a hole in here so that I can make it a little easier. Like, say under here somewhere, basically have a piston that goes up and one on this area or something that somehow pushes them over. Now, granted, this is kind of concept at the moment that I don't really know how the logistics would work, but it would require something like that, where you have some kind of trading system where there's essentially like a block. I think I actually had come up with it where, for lack of better example, since I've got the blocks here, is you would have a piston that goes up, but then you would have a few blocks, and then you'd actually have, like, you know, along this area, say this is this section, this top part, under here you'd have a piston like this that was actually already extended, and it was holding on, like I said, with a hinge block or a rotor head or something to the block that's connecting these two. Or something to that effect, because essentially what you're trying to do is have this reversed. So the idea would be that if you disconnected the top from the bottom, then this would just retract and it would pull itself in, and then it would move this top part over. That's kind of my idea. I have no idea if that made sense to anyone or not, but it's kind of what I'm thinking. And if I could pull that off, the reasoning behind that would be, instead of this little, like, 3 by whatever area, I could have a huge area here where I could have multiple arrays of solar panels. And with that idea in mind, now granted, I'm already like 16 minutes in, I know that this is a very talky episode, but I'm kind of trying to convey a little bit of the things I've been thinking of over the last month, and so you guys can kind of get an idea of where I'm going with this kind of thing. Basically, we have a lot to catch up on, is what I'm saying. We're old friends meeting up again, and we have a lot to catch up on before we take action again. So we might get into a little bit of building at the end here, but mostly I wanted to kind of update you guys on the plans for the build and what I'm doing, and then hopefully have some of this done by the next episode is the idea. I don't like doing... I know a lot of you don't really care for a lot of talky episodes, but... it's what I can do at the moment. So one of the things that I was thinking of doing is we've got plenty of space in here. Even considering if we needed a couple of block layer for a ceiling to cover the conveyors for the hangar and stuff, we can still go all the way through here and up to this point. Actually, where does this come out at? That would be a good metric here. So it's somewhere in this area. That would be perfect. So if we came out like a couple of blocks further, just to give us a little bit of breathing room so that we didn't mess anything up, I think that would actually be perfect spacing for what I'm thinking of doing. And essentially, like I said, there'd be kind of a gap running through here. And we could even do something decorative down this center seam. Maybe the seam doesn't move. So we could do something like a trench or a decorative kind of shape, vents, whatever they may be. We could do some kind of decoration thing, because technically the seam wouldn't have to move. I was originally thinking a totally open canopy, but we wouldn't have to do it that way. So, with that in mind, what I'm thinking is it would actually go... Let's actually run a line up here, and then we would have... Well, hold on. Let me figure out... Oh, wow, I couldn't have done that any better if I tried. Okay, so there's basically a 1 block space from this cutout here. So pretty much right to there. So we would have... Whoop! We would have a total of about 8 blocks wide. So right now we have 3, and we were already getting 12. Now I'm also going to change up, that's what I started to say, is because we have this vertical room, I was trying to do a fold up, like this, where it folded up. I realized the other day, I was like, that's dumb. Why am I doing it this way? This is just completely inefficient. All I need to do is do it vertically. And I don't know why I didn't think of that before. So basically starting from, you know, like I said, up here, like a couple blocks up from the conveyors above the hangar, we'll basically do some pistons, like a couple of pistons, one on each end, maybe for stability, however it would work. I don't know how the multi-gridding like that would work, but something that makes it stable or whatnot. Even if it's just a single one in the center. But we could do multiple pistons, however many we need to clear the upper areas here. And basically, I'd have them sitting this way. So I'm still trying to decide if when they go up vertically, if I would just have a rotor like this so they just turned in this direction. Because theoretically, I don't actually need them to flip up, like, I don't need them to spin this way, really. If they're already in this alignment and they rotate this way, then once they're out of the ship, they should be able to rotate to the left or the right, and then it would just be about positioning the ship in the closest proximity to the sun. So basically I could do something like this, but have them on maybe even a little closer if I can. I'm not sure if I can or not. They may have to be a one block space apart. But they could go up this way and then rotate. I'm not sure about that part now that I think about it, because if I did it this way and then rotated them, they'd probably hit each other. This was supposed to unfold them. Either way, I think I'm probably being kind of confusing, but I think you guys get the idea of I'd get probably more efficiency out of one single vertical piston and maybe a hinge or something, rather than all of this making them actually fold vertically. It's like even if you put this hinge rotor type system to where they can go up and down and left and right, but it was all attached to like one vertical piston to take them all the way up and not swing up, I'd maximize a lot more space, because even if I go, let's say this was the piston that went up, then you have a block here, a hinge, a rotor, whatever. So let's just say 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's still a 5 block space that I'm saving, which is almost 1, 2, 3. It's almost 3 or almost 2 more solar panels in that setup. So I have to give it more thought, but that's just me thinking out loud, general idea of what I'm correcting in this design that I was originally thinking. That because of the size of this ship, these like 6 solar panels really isn't going to do anything. So I'm going to try and come up with a more efficient array, maybe even standing them vertically, because they're only 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks high. So that's basically buying us 1 solar panel. If I was inaccurate there, I thought there were 3 long. But because of the change of how I'm thinking of doing this, I may actually stack them all vertically. So that's only 2 blocks wide. And if I do that, depending on how I do the unfolding method, is where the efficiency of how many I can get in here is going to come into play. Because I have to figure out how to effectively make them unfold where they're all getting full sun and correct their angles or whatnot. Now, I don't necessarily have to correct their angles either. That's the other option. I could make them come out and then fold flat and essentially just tilt the ship in the right direction. I was trying to be all fancy and have them curve all around, but if I find that's inefficient, then I may make them just turn vertically and just come up, kind of thing. Something like that. I don't know. But I do like the idea of taking this top plate off rather than this little three wide plate. And that would also give us more solar panels, as well as take advantage of some of this room down here. Now the other factor there is if I do a 1 block piston razor type thing where it's all the way down here and you got like a stack of 7 pistons or something going up, if I only do 1 and not like, every 3 blocks or multiple arrays or anything like that, the other advantage that would give us is I could take all of this room down here and stack up a bunch of solar panels, so you'd have a lot coming out, kind of thing, if that makes sense. I apologize for the lack of visuals because I haven't actually built it yet, and I'm not like cutting and taking the time to build it. Again, probably sick of hearing it, but I do apologize for it being a talky episode, but I'm still getting back in the swing of things, so my schedule is kind of erratic at the moment, and I'm doing this kind of at the last minute, because just I had some personal stuff come up and things, and I didn't really have any other time to do it. So I don't really have a lot of time to do cuts and do like a billion things, so I'm hoping you guys will be okay with kind of a rough overview of planning this episode, and then hopefully next time I'll have some of this even done, and the other, like I'm hoping to have the hangar done, like converting the hangar here to a vertical, because I do think that's a better idea. So hopefully next episode I will have the bottom hull here rebuilt, and then probably the cutout for a hangar, even if it's not done. And I'd like to have a concept set up, or a prototype or something for the solar panel thing going on. That's kind of the idea here. Also, I have been hearing a lot of comments on the build videos here about the thruster usage, which I agree with, in that I don't really like that at the moment almost all of the thruster stuff is like right here in the main shell, and then in the thruster pods. It is a big vulnerability of the build. So all of this like empty space and all this stuff, now that I have kind of a hull going on, and because I built a lot of this without knowing exactly how I was going to do the shape of the hull, so with a rough outline of the hull going on, I think I'm going to probably try and fill in some of these excess spaces with some small thrusters and things like that, so that we've got multiple redundant areas. And a lot of people even suggested redundant, like processing, storage, blah 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 blah, which I do intend to do. Also, the lower, I'm calling it the lander down here, obviously will be a little more cramped, but I'm also planning on making this a little bit of a redundant setup as well, with basically everything that you need for a functional ship in this area, not including the stuff that's in the main ship kind of thing. So that's, I think, all that I'm going to do today, where it looks like we're about out of time, so I'd like to keep this one a little bit teensy shorter. Not by much, but we're going to wrap things up here for today. Again, let me know what you guys think about some of these plans. If you see flaws in them or suggestions, feel free to let me know, and I will try and incorporate them before the next episode into the ideas. Also, if you didn't catch the comment in the inspiration episode, I'm not doing the weekly week ahead of time on Patreon anymore. It was just getting very confusing, and it felt disconnected from you guys. I wasn't getting feedback in good timing, so I should actually have your comments and stuff taken into account by the next episode, which will be a fun change of pace. So hopefully that helps things. If you see anything weird in the videos, or quality, audio quality, anything like that, do let me know. And in the meantime, I'm happy to be back. I hope you are happy that I'm back. And in the meantime, I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.